Good afternoon. Uh, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Dave Bruns, and I'm coming to you live from Kansas City, actually from Olathe, Kansas. And it's my honor this year to be the chair of the Optimist Oratorical Committee. And I'm just so excited about all the great speakers that we've heard this morning and so far this afternoon. As you probably know, so far we've heard speakers from Canada, the United States, and from the beautiful island nation of Barbados. But you know, it takes a lot of work to reimagine a contest like this. Usually we're all gathered together at St. Louis University, just down the street from the Optimist International headquarters. And of course, today we're gathering from around the world on Zoom, on Facebook, and YouTube. And it takes a remarkable team to put a production like this together. And I just want to give a shout out to those people that are making this event possible today. First, from Lawrence, Kansas, Dr. Diana Carlin, who is our tournament director. And then we've got a lot of folks back in St. Louis today working in what I call mission control. Some of you may know it as the Optimist International Board of Directors room, but today it's mission control for the World Championship Optimist Oratorical Contest. And back there at mission control is our director of programs, Amy Keller, her assistant, Josh Castleberry, our broadcast director, who's putting all this together, which is often difficult. We really appreciate her work, and that's Jennifer Bagwell. Behind the scenes, in charge of live streaming, who I call our producer for this live broadcast, is Tom Carver. Of course, there's many others that are working behind the scenes: Benny Ellery, Craig Boring, Jacques Poulin, Rachel Webb, and many more. And I'd just like to give a shout out to each and every one of those people that are making this contest virtually so successful. Now, it's also great that we were able to have International President Adrian Elcock join us live this morning from Barbados. I'm one of the thousands of people that have been benefited over the years from being a contestant in the Optimist Oratorical Contest. And I just briefly wanted to give you a little bit of my story, and that is 47 years ago, back in 1973, my father and a gentleman by the name of Elmer Jackson, who was my father's an attorney and a friend of his in his Optimist Club, convinced a mischievous 13-year-old to enter an Optimist Club oratorical contest. And I have to tell you, at 13 years old, it wasn't exactly what I wanted to do. I was more interested in sports, just trying to figure out girls, and it wasn't something that I really wanted to do. But I'm so grateful that they saw something in me that year, and they had me enter the contest because it really changed my life. Mr. Jackson, who was the oratorical contest chair of the club, as I said, was an attorney. And after hearing his eloquence and just watching him, I decided to become a lawyer and to study law. And little did I know that here, 47 years later, I'd still be involved in Optimist. I would have had the honor to serve as Optimist International President. And in my career, I'd have the opportunity to serve as a judge on the Kansas Court of Appeals. And so I'm so grateful to Optimist International, the Optimist International Foundation, and all those who make this contest possible. I'd like to give you just a little bit of history of the Optimist Oratorical Contest, which is the oldest signature program of Optimist International. Now, as you can see on the screen, it takes a partnership. They say it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it takes a partnership to run an oratorical contest. And the Optimist International Oratorical Contest is a partnership between Optimist International, the Optimist International Foundation, and the Canadian Children's Optimist Foundation. We also have been closely aligned with Junior Optimist International throughout the history of this contest. And as I indicated, this is the oldest signature program in Optimist International, with the first contest being held in 1928 at the Optimist International Convention in Asheville, North Carolina. Now, you'll see there on the screen our first winner, who was a 12-year-old by the name of Carl Perparo, And he was from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He was a member of a junior Optimist club there. And at the time, the winner received a trophy called the Loving Cup. And he was a son of Italian immigrants. His father was in prison, and he credited throughout his life, he passed away a few years ago, the Optimist Oratorical contest for helping turn his life around. He grew up to be a successful businessman and owned a chain of restaurants in Southern California. As you can also see on the screen, there's been many famous and infamous people like myself in the Optimist Oratorical contest over there. One of the neat stories is many of you probably have watched Doogie Howser or How I Met Your Mother. Well, Neil Patrick Harris was discovered at an Optimist Oratorical contest in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And our current Vice President of the United States, Mike Pence, was a participant in the Optimist Oratorical contest. And there's just been so many people over the years, whether they win a scholarship or not, like me, that have benefited from this contest. Now today, of course, the winners of the district contest, as well as others around the world, move on to the regional championships, which you're watching today, and ultimately compete for the world championship, which you'll see tomorrow. This contest started in 2016, and it's changed a lot over the years. Originally, the Optimist Oratorical contest was limited to junior optimists, and it included only boys under the age of 16. In the 1970s, a girls division was added, and the foundations began awarding scholarships. In the 1990s, the age limit was increased to all students in high school or its equivalent around the world. But for many years, we ended the contest at the district level. And in 2016, for the first time, we held the regionals and world championships at St. Louis University. And you'll see there a picture of Cameron Taylor, who was the first world champion. And of course, the reward that's received by everyone now in the contest is a little different than that trophy that was received by the young lad who won in 1928. While he received a trophy, now the world champion receives a $22,500 scholarship. So the Optimist Oratorical contest has come a long way. It's been reimagined this year, and I just want to thank all the participants, the parents, the coaches, the judges, the timekeepers, all the Optimist members, and everyone that's been involved that has reimagined their optimism this year and have made this contest so successful. Thank you all, and good luck to all of our participants.
Imaginez simplement un monde sans barrières. Pas si simple, n'est-ce pas? Pourtant, ici, on est dans le grand confort. La pièce est chauffée, on porte des vêtements en bon état, on est nourri. Essayez de concevoir à quel point imaginer un monde sans barrières était une tâche impossible pour les esclaves africains en Amérique du Nord ou pour les femmes soumises avant le début du mouvement féministe. Ces personnes avaient bien plus de barrières que la plupart des Nord-Américains et elles ont dû frapper à pleine force dans les murs qui les retenaient d'être libres. Elles ont dû démolir des barrières pour nous permettre d'évoluer. Ne croyez-vous pas qu'il est d'une grande importance de démolir les barrières qui bloquent notre chemin? Moi, je pense que c'est primordial. Je pense que le but premier de briser les barrières, c'est de permettre à la société d'évoluer. C'est comme ça que les humains fonctionnent. On frappe dans les murs, puis on avance de quelques pas ensemble. En voici quelques exemples. Au Canada, l'esclavage des personnes africaines a été rapidement mis en place au début de la colonisation de nos terres. Selon l'Encyclopédie canadienne, ce n'est qu'en 1833 que cette pratique a été abolie dans notre pays. Ça veut dire que pendant plus de 2 siècles complets, nous avons abusé d'un grand nombre de personnes pour notre si précieux confort. Et ce n'est pas tout. Une fois qu'elles ont été libérées, de peine et de misère, rappelons-le-nous, la barrière a tenu le coup. En fait, la ségrégation raciale était une autre forme d'esclavage. Ceci explique l'ampleur de l'événement survenu en 1955 en Alabama, aux États-Unis, lorsque Rosa Parks a refusé de céder son siège d'autobus à une personne caucasienne, comme le chauffeur le lui demandait. 1955. Réalisez-vous à quel point ça ne fait pas si longtemps? C'est grâce à des actes comme celui de Rosa Parks que l'obtention des droits civiques pour les Afro-Américains a pu être mise de l'avant. Cette femme a remis en question un phénomène qui, pour plusieurs, semblait normal, et elle a frappé à pleine force dans ce mur qui brimait la liberté de millions de personnes. Grâce à elle, une partie de la barrière s'est effondrée et on a avancé de quelques pas. Ainsi, on a évolué. La première fois que les Canadiennes mariées ont investi le marché du travail en grand nombre était seulement lors de la Première Guerre mondiale parce que la majorité des hommes ne pouvaient plus participer à la main-d'œuvre industrielle. Faisons une petite ligne du temps à partir de là. Les femmes obtiennent le droit de vote à l'échelle du Canada à peu près en même temps que la guerre se termine et qu'elles sont appelées à retourner au foyer maintenant que leurs maris sont revenus. Ensuite, les femmes retournent au travail lors d'une deuxième pénurie de main-d'œuvre arrivée avec la Seconde Guerre mondiale. Une fois la guerre finie, plusieurs femmes décident de conserver leur emploi malgré l'encouragement de retourner au foyer. Et finalement, en 1992, soit 50 ans plus tard, la première Canadienne devient astronaute et brise un autre aspect de cette barrière qui bloquait les femmes. Pour certains, 1992 semble loin. Mais pour remettre les choses en perspective, rappelons qu'en Arabie Saoudite, les femmes ont le droit de conduire une voiture depuis seulement 2 ans. Réalisez-vous à quel point tout ce progrès est récent? Et il n'y a pas si longtemps, les femmes n'étaient pas reconnues comme des personnes à part entière. Alors, que ce soit en officialisant qu'elles le sont, en envoyant une femme dans l'espace ou en permettant aux femmes d'Arabie Saoudite de prendre le volant, cette barrière d'inégalité est lézardée et commence à se briser. Ainsi, grâce à ces progrès, on a évolué. Vous n'êtes toujours pas convaincu que c'est en brisant des barrières que l'humain évolue? Revenons à la base. La Terre est ronde, n'est-ce pas? Aujourd'hui, ça semble être une évidence puisque nous le croyons depuis la Renaissance et nous avons les outils nécessaires pour le prouver. Pourtant, avant que cela devienne une croyance publique, les quelques-uns qui disaient que notre planète était une sphère étaient mal vus. Les plus savants d'entre eux ont persisté pour finalement convaincre et prouver que la population et les autorités avaient tort. Ainsi, on a évolué. Ce que j'essaie de dire avec tout ça, c'est de briser les barrières est tellement important parce que c'est ce qui nous permet d'avancer en tant que société. On l'oublie souvent, mais nous avons un pouvoir important dans notre système démocratique. C'est l'implication des citoyens qui a forcé les gouvernements à faire des changements et ce sont ces mêmes personnes qui sont à l'origine de nos valeurs d'aujourd'hui. Alors, prenons les mots de Gilles Vigneault pour les moments où nous faisons face à une barrière. Il faut que je me réveille. Il faut qu'on se réveille. Utilisons notre pouvoir de citoyen et brisons les barrières. Frappons à pleine force dans les murs qui briment notre liberté et qui nous empêchent d'atteindre nos rêves. Ainsi, on va évoluer.
Hi, I'm Flavie Bastien. I'm from the Centre of Quebec district, so I'm not used to really talking in English, so I'm sorry if I make any mistakes. But yeah, I've had a really good team with me to learn my speech and to make it my own. The local club, Club Optimist La Flèche, had a special couple that really were with me the whole time and were really, really good with me and encouraged me to keep doing it and to get better. So yeah, a special thanks to them, and also my French teacher who has been with me from the beginning and who has given me the idea to participate in this championship. So yeah, that's about it.
And please share with us a few words in French, because there's a lot of people that speak French that are listening to you right now, a lot of your family and friends, so feel free to greet.
En fond, j'ai un accent québécois, on l'entend quand même beaucoup, mais justement, en parlant d'auditeurs québécois, il y a ma famille dans la chambre d'à côté qui écoute les vidéos, donc ils vont probablement entendre mon accent anglais puis ensuite québécois, mais non, c'est ça. Ça fait une grosse différence de parler en anglais et en français.
Just imagine a world without boundaries. I have anxiety and I'm autistic. And so I have had psychological boundaries for as long as I can remember. In the 2nd grade, I started developing some emotional boundaries. In those days, while the teacher was presenting her lesson, I acted out, got loud, and didn't pay attention. I obviously pushed her beyond her limits because rather than treating me with patience and with kindness, she routinely yelled at me or sent me over to the timeout corner or sent me home with a red discipline note. My response to that kind of treatment was to build an emotional wall between her and I, a wall made of lack of trust. And with the exception of my parents, who in their love knew how to deal with me, I extended the reach of that wall from my teacher to all other adults. As one might imagine, these boundaries, these walls, kept me behind in life for a long time. Luckily, however, as I have matured, I have learned how to deal better with my anxiety and my autism. And even more luckily, I have interacted with adults who treat me with patience and respect, rather than with annoyance and discipline. Rather than being behind in life, I have caught up and have therefore begun to imagine my own world without boundaries, and also the larger world without boundaries. How fortunate I have been to have learned how to deal with my anxiety and my autism. While the rest of my class at a Pennsylvania elementary school did regular work, I took special education classes that taught me how to become more social. I was made to step out of my comfort zone, to talk to adults and to other students, and to also expand my intelligence by reading above my expected reading level. Nevertheless, while my social skills got better, my academic skills seemed to be lagging behind. That is until my family moved to Georgia when I was a third grader. Due to my fourth grade teacher, a woman who was gifted into teaching children like me and who've earned my trust, I started truly to succeed academically. I wish I could have known her longer, but another move eventually led me to New York, where as a middle schooler, I regressed in my social anxiety. Rather than erecting boundaries between adults and myself, I erected them between me and my new classmates, who began immediately to judge me based on my reticence and lesser social skills, rather than taking the time to see what was truly on the inside. Somehow, I made it through those middle school years and stopped going to special education classes in 8th grade. I began to feel normal and as a result, more happy. Even yet another move, this time here in Oklahoma, brought new challenges in adjusting and adapting. I have discovered teachers whom I can trust, and despite still feeling shy, self-conscious, and scared in many public gatherings, I have learned that there are people out there who wish to lift me up to where I can see over the boundaries, in a bright future with no walls, no barriers. It works the same way in the larger world. There are, to be sure, people who are angry, disagreeable, and argumentative, but they are more than balanced with organizations such as Optimist International. According to its website, Optimist has 2,500 clubs around the world, and their members are doing their best every day to promote patriotism, peace, friendship, and a positive vision for the future. Those members know better than I ever did how tempting it will be to erect boundaries, yet they continue to cross the barriers and tear down the walls. Indeed, through contests such as this one, Optimist teaches young people to be like them, to trust in, and to imagine a world without boundaries. The world that we live in, it's not pure. There are people who will push you down and make you look down upon yourself. But in learning how to deal with my disabilities, I have also learned how to imagine a better world, not just for myself, but for other people facing their own challenges. In coming into contact with Optimists, I have learned that there have been people out there who've been imagining a world without boundaries for a long time. And I intend to join them in their endeavors, in spirit and in action. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jasmine Brazategi, and I'm from Region 5, which is the Oklahoma region. And I would love to say a special thanks, especially to my English teacher, Mr. Freeman, which his students call him Doc, not from back in the future. He has helped me tremendously with this opportunity, helped me with my essay, helped me practice it, and I wish him like my best thanks for helping me get this far. And also to Mr. Watson, my advisor, who has given me a tremendous support throughout all of this. And I also like to thank my family for giving me so much support and for helping me throughout all of this. I'd like to thank my mom and my dad for giving me advice of how to express myself and to get through all of this in the best way as I can. I also like to thank my sisters for dealing with me and for listening to my speeches over and over again. And thank you so much for everyone for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much, and I hope to do this again in the future.
Just imagine a world without boundaries. Here's a conversation that may look familiar. Hey, did you see that speech on the news last night? The one about cutting taxes? I thought that guy was brilliant. Yeah, I saw it, but I mean, I'd have to disagree with you there. We need taxes. They pay for everything. So, taxes are crazy high. Don't you think something needs to be done about that? Yeah, well, you're just not making a logical point. Are you forgetting everything that needs to be paid for? And I will stop there because we all know how this argument ends. Maybe you've had an argument like this, not about taxes necessarily, but just any heated argument in general. Maybe it was out loud, maybe it was in your head. Whatever the case, it's not fair. And before I elaborate, let me dive deeper into what this argument is really about. I would say that any irritating point in conversation is a boundary. Now, think to yourself, what's the first thing that comes into your mind when you think of the word boundary? I would define it as simply anything that can hold you back. And there's no limit to the type of boundaries that are out there. I mean, physical, emotional, and tons more that I'm sure could be listed out. But a specific boundary that I'm talking about that could be in person or over social media is a conversational boundary. Not long ago, I was working on a project with a group, and somehow the topic of politics came up, and one of the girls made a very rude, unnecessary joke, making fun of some things that I actually happen to believe. And I was offended by her comment. I could have gotten upset. I could have defended myself, but a couple of things held me back. For one, I did not want to turn this lighthearted conversation into an intense argument. And secondly, there was this fear that kept me from voicing my perspective. I had to think to myself, am I going to offend this person, or are they going to judge me based off of what I say? And that's not fair for me, being fearful of speaking up, but it's also not fair for her to not experience the fellowship that conversation brings. And that was a boundary between us. Naturally, I hated experiencing that, and I kept asking myself, is there anything I can do to break down that uncomfortable boundary? Eventually, I came up with 3 things to keep in mind when having a conversation, and noticed that each of these points all revolve around a simple yet essential word: perspective. So, number 1, learn from different perspectives. We should always enter every conversation with an open mind, ready to hear what someone else has to say and to learn from them. And maybe neither of our opinions change, but at least we understand each other better. Number 2, try to find common ground when solving a problem. When you are trying to resolve a conflict with someone, you should be thinking together and looking to compromise, and that includes sharing your perspectives. My final point, number 3, is seek to encourage. When you are being encouraged, you're receiving wisdom and insight from someone. And when you are encouraging someone else, you're giving them your wisdom and insight. Perspective is a key quality when it comes to encouragement. Now, how is it possible to use perspective as a tool when you're afraid to voice your own? But that's exactly my point. We shouldn't be afraid to voice our opinions because disagreement is a good thing. What if we all felt the same way all the time and we all had the same opinions? Think about how boring life would be. However, having these different opinions doesn't mean that we have to be so divided. Division is such a huge issue in today's society, especially now with technology. When we go on social media, that division is intensified. Now, more than ever, we need to apply the statement, agree to disagree, to our lives. And if we can achieve that mindset, plus my 3 perspective points, we can still respect each other, even if our opinions are not the same. And just imagine how that can help break down those boundaries. And I know that it won't happen overnight, but I think it would be an amazing achievement to be able to live in harmony with one another. And this can only begin if we're able to hold a respectful, flowing conversation without fear of voicing our opinions and perspectives. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Karina. I'm from the Atlantic Central District. I am going into my junior year of high school, and I'm just so grateful for Optimist International giving this incredible opportunity. This was just something like I've never experienced before, getting to speak about some things that I'm very passionate about, and to do all of this online, it's absolutely insane. I could thank so many people for their support, but I want to give most of my thanks to my public speaking teacher, Mrs. Kennedy, who is incredible and just helped me every step of the way, and my dad for being an amazing, constant encouragement. And I really enjoyed watching everyone's speech today, so I'm grateful, and yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes.
How many of you just imagine a world without boundaries? When you wake up in the morning, during your morning stretch, do you think to yourself, what a beautiful day it is. Just imagine a world without boundaries. Anyone? Yeah, probably none of you. Instead, we wake up, usually grouchy at our alarm clock. We roll out of bed, make our coffee, brush our teeth, run out of the door. The typical American morning. According to a study ran by the New York Post, 48% of Americans consider themselves workaholics. Let's think about that. Nearly half of the population in this country are so focused on work, business, bills, email schedules, deadlines, meetings, and money. Why? Why are people so configured on constantly going and going with no room, no time for a break? Why? Well, you must work hard. You must get a good job. Then you'll live a happy life, right? That's what we've been told growing up. Just like we've been told, don't get too close to that edge. You might fall over. Or, are you sure you want to hang out with them? They're not that cool. Be more like this person. Ooh, don't wear that. It makes you stand out. You need to act like everyone else. Every single day, we are constantly being told what to do, how to live, why we need to be like this in order to be like that. It's almost as if there's a rule book or something for the good life. It's like there are cookie cutter steps that will enable us to fit in and thrive in this universe. What if we wiped out those steps, pushed away what we are being reminded to do, and just imagine a world without boundaries? When I imagine a world without boundaries, I draw a picture in my head of a zoo without any cages or fences. It could be dangerous. It could be a little bit scary because we are vulnerable and out of our territory. A boundary is a limit, a perimeter. They border in everything here that's safe and comfortable and block out all the outside stuff, all the foreign stuff, the scary stuff, the lions and tigers and bears, oh my. But wouldn't it be so fun, so fascinating to just jump over that fence and discover something we've never seen or experienced before? Imagination. It's a crazy thing. The human brain consists of millions and billions of neurons and nerves used to create dreams, to envision aspirations, to set these hypothetical goals. However, sometimes these imaginative things can seem like nothing but a thought, or just simply an idea. It is quite hard to act on what we dream because we are afraid of the risk that comes alongside it. We are afraid of failure, the judgment evoked on us by others. We are afraid of not being able to exceed these aspirations and these goals. Imagine if we kicked away that fence of fear. Imagine if we pushed away that protecting perimeter and babying border and lived life in this world open-eyed and optimistic to everything. One of my favorite authors, Dr. Seuss once wrote, "You have brains in your head. You have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself in any direction you choose. You're on your own, and you know what you know. And you are the one who'll decide where to go. Your boundary is your comfort zone, set by society and set by yourself. Stepping outside of it could seem like a risk, but hey, it doesn't hurt to try, right? You have what it takes to achieve what others may say is not realistic and to achieve anything you can possibly think of. We often have a tunnel vision and focus in on the light at the end of the tunnel. But why not scope out the entire horizon where the light shines down everywhere? So get a little close to that edge, wear that quirky outfit, stand out. Don't fall into the trap of fitting in and being stuck within your boundary because you were uniquely created to go out to discover and change the world. Be who you want to be. Do what you want to do. Take your imagination and use it as an inspiration to yield an innovation for each and every nation. Just imagine a world without boundaries. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Amaya De La Cruz, and I am representing the Elk Grove Optimist Club from California. I would just love to say thank you so much to the Elk Grove Optimist Club. Thank you, Sophia. Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Charlie, for just supporting me in all that I do and introducing this competition to me. I would love to thank my grandparents, my Pappy and Grammy. They're watching right now. What's up? For always just supporting me and for staying up late at night writing essays with me and just helping me. I want to thank my mom and my dad and my papa and just everybody and all my friends for supporting me. And I would also like to thank Optimist International for all their hard work and pushing for this competition to be a thing still in the midst of all the craziness in the world. So thank you, everyone. Good job and good luck.
Boundaries. So my mom's in the kitchen cooking, and I don't tell her why, but I ask her, what is your world without boundaries? She said, the world would be an infinite vacation. So then I asked my father the same question. He said, it's obviously Sunday night football every night. And then I asked my younger brother. He said, ice cream. He's 5. After hearing my family's responses, I was confused by what could link them all together. That was until I asked my younger sister. She said that the world without boundaries is a world of happiness. And suddenly everything made sense. You see, the way we see the world without boundaries is based off our own happiness, the happiness we want to envision for ourselves. So I started thinking about how do we see the world without boundaries and to our happiness? Well, the first step is realizing we have to find that one person in our life that lets us see past the boundary. This could be a parent, a boss, or even a coach. For Walt Disney, it was his brother Roy. Helen Keller had Anne Sullivan, and the Kennedys had the Kennedys. We need people that don't let us see the boundaries in our life as an obstacle, but let us see the happiness beyond them. For me, this was my mom. From a young age, I told her someday, I want to be the mostest, bestest doctor in the world. She then sat me down in her office and said, honey, fix your grammar and dream bigger. As a child, my mother encouraged me to go beyond the boundaries, despite the obvious obstacles that stood in my way. And here's the key. With her encouragement, anything I could have imagined got a little bit more clear. The next step to know boundaries and finding our happiness is realizing it's not always going to be smooth sailing. Sometimes we're going to fall along the way. Michael Jordan got cut from his high school basketball team. J.K. Rowling's pitch for Harry Potter got turned down 12 times before being published. For me, I've taken a little note from my father's book. Every day before dropping me off for school, my father would say, today is going to be a great day, and every mistake is a lesson learned. Now, while little me was far more worried about what I had packed for lunch, I think I ended up paying attention. Even though we may make a mistake or run smack dab in the face of a boundary, we can learn and get through it by accepting the fact that we're going to face trials in life. We get better at bouncing back. We just have to remember what's on the other side. The third thing I see critical when imagining our world without boundaries is knowing the importance of making lemonade. You know the saying, when life gives you lemons? Well, just bear with me. The events occurring in these last few months have been, needless to say, stressful for millions, including my family. From the loss of my parents' jobs to just last week, after testing positive for COVID-19 myself. Your boundaries now seem louder, higher, and thicker than ever. But you know who are the people that are doing the best right now? It's the people making lemonade. We have to see the happiness in light of the bad situations. So, I am happy to say that while in bad health, I'm feeling relatively well today. I am happy to say that I still have the Zoom call to let my voice be heard. And I'm happy to say that I have two loving parents waiting right behind my door, ready to play a full-fledged, masked, socially distanced game of charades from 6 feet away. Listen, we can't start to imagine a world without boundaries until we're ready to look at the happiness, the potential that lies beyond them. So I asked my family what their world without boundaries would look like. And what I learned is that it's personal. My world without boundaries is different from yours. So think about this. Who in your life tells you you can accomplish anything you set your mind to? Think about how your last success wasn't without failure. And remember the importance of making lemonade and seeing the good in every situation. This trifecta is the key to imagining a world without boundaries and finding our happiness. Thank you.
My name is Mateo Mauro. I am from Region 2, from the North Florida region. I am currently an entering freshman going to Mississippi State University this fall. My special thank yous, I would love to say thank you to Miss Leslie and the whole Matier family for helping me along the way, Mr. Doug Henriquez, the Optimist leader for Golf Breeze, and of course, Miss Allen, my speech and debate coach, who has been a tremendous help for every speech competition I've ever done. And of course, I'd like to thank Optimist as a whole for giving me this opportunity for my last year. So thank you.
Just imagine a world without boundaries. Last year, when I traveled to Joshua Tree National Park in California to climb Lost Horse Wall, I was ecstatic. But as I got closer to the climb site, I grew terrified. Riddled with deadly drops and impossibly steep paths, Lost Horse Wall looked impossible to climb. I was unable to start, and I set a mental barrier for myself. However, after a little encouragement from my friends, I began to climb. Inch by inch, little by little, until I finally reached the top. Pride filled my chest as I overcame the mental and physical boundaries that I set for myself that day. Similarly, when we look to the real world, we are often presented with many challenges. Whether these challenges are boundaries that are mental or physical, by working to overcome these boundaries, we can create a better world for ourselves and the people around us. So today, let's first chalk up and see why financial boundaries hold people back before climbing over some of the social barriers we set for ourselves in order to properly analyze why a world without boundaries is necessary. Financial boundaries have always loomed over my mind, much like the cliffs in California. As a graduating senior in high school and incoming college freshman, student debt is always in the back of my mind. Although my worries of financial stress may seem like a big deal to me, I realize that there are millions of others around the world that are struggling much more than I am. According to a recent study done by the Pew Research Center, around 79.8% of the world's citizens are living in some form of debt. Now, debt is prevalent in all countries, but in America especially, debt is a big factor in the inexistence of financial mobility. Because of debt, many people are unable to buy cars, houses, amongst other items, which prevents them from climbing up the financial rungs to the middle class. But by donating, voting, and pushing for legislation that works to break the glass ceiling between those that live in poverty and the middle class, we begin the fight to tear down harmful financial boundaries. Now, when people live without debt, they are able to make much better lives for themselves. A world without debt means a world in which people are able to succeed. As I continue to think about a world without boundaries, I also considered a world without social barriers. It can be easy for us to put up walls between each other. Differences in race, sexual orientation, gender, and culture can sometimes create an environment of hostility. However, when we are able to climb over these walls, we can create a system of support. Recent events have put a spotlight on racial disparity in our communities. Judicial inequalities, medical inequalities, and a plethora of other problems have started to get exposed in our communities all across America and the world. As these inequalities are being unmasked, I've found it inspiring to see my community hold peaceful protests as our voices start to be heard. We've begun to see other cities join us in the fight for equality as well. Atlanta, Houston, Los Angeles, and a plethora of other cities have joined us in solidarity. The fight for equal treatment for our Black brothers and sisters is spreading to all 50 states, but the fight isn't stopping there. Australia, Sri Lanka, Finland, Ireland, Japan, and over 70 other countries have shown their support for equality for all. By protesting peacefully and demanding for change, change can happen and is happening. As optimists, we want good to prevail in this world. And that's why it is our responsibility to tear down harmful social boundaries in order to create a more accepting, loving, and diverse world. So today, we first chalked up and saw why financial boundaries hold people back before climbing over some of the social barriers we set for ourselves in order to properly analyze why a world without boundaries is necessary. After seeing what a world without boundaries looks like, I hope that everybody is as inspired as I am to work towards this world. Just as I was able to overcome my own boundaries, with a little bit of help and support from the people around us, we can work to foster a more caring, accepting, and loving world.
Hi, my name is Diana Stauffer, and I am from the DMM region, which is up in the Minnesota region. A couple things that I'd like to give is to my family first and foremost. They've been my biggest supporters thus far, especially my brother, who's listened to my speech probably 1,000,000 times. Really appreciate him. I'd also love to give a special thank you to the St. Paul Optimist Club, Stephen Severance, Linnea Salem, Mr. and Mrs. Gorman. You have all been a tremendous help, so thank you very, very much. And I'd also like to thank the Optimist Club in general for giving me this opportunity. It's been such a fun and wild ride, and I truly wouldn't change anything for the world for it. So thank you very, very much. I appreciate it.
Just imagine a world without boundaries. The world canvas, solemnly waiting while the power of exploration rests in our grasp. A world without barriers. A world without walls. A world without no. Now, at front, this may seem like a lucky lotto luxury that anyone in their right mind would snatch at the opportunity. But I implore you to think. A world without boundaries could mean a world without innovation. Now, please do not mistake me. I do not mean to say that boundaries are this all-positive entity sitting with a thumbs up and a smiley face emoticon. If the stretching years of my bloodline hasn't taught me something, it's that boundaries are devastating. Whether it be the boundary of discrimination, or poverty, or hate, or police brutality, or violence to and from others, boundaries can and have ripped our world apart. But as we put the pieces back together, we begin to realize that this tear was needed. We need boundaries so that we can overcome them. To imagine a world where there is nothing holding us back would significantly plummet our motivation for progression. Yes, Malcolm X is known as one of the most influential African-American speakers in the US, but only after he hit the wall of discrimination and injustice. Yes, we are becoming more aware of the problems in our society, but only after we hit the wall of desensitization. Yes, we are becoming an increasingly homogenized culture, but only after we hit the wall of unfairness and inequality. In order for us to achieve, we need to have something to achieve over. The tree of innovation doesn't grow from abundance. It grows from necessity. Now, when we think about boundaries, let's be honest, we tend to think pessimistically, and we have every right to do so. But I invite you to take a different perspective. The greatest people who walk the earth aren't those who are complacent and get all the benefit, but those who work hard to climb over a boundary. People who I like to call sedulous. Now, sedulous is a word kin to ambitious and diligent, yet slightly different. Sedulous people move beyond the bounds of diligence and ambitiousness to complete a task. They find optimism and skepticism and opportunity where no one sees potential. Boundaries give us something to look forward to, a hope and optimism that one day we will surpass their height. And it is from this hope that inspiration blossoms, opening our minds to a way to better the world we live in. So it is my hope that you understand that with each you exceed, there will always be another boundary waiting to be overcome. It is my hope that with each you surpass, you become stronger and stronger and stronger in your tenacity. Because we are sedulous people. So I ask again, just imagine a world without boundaries. Well, spoiler alert, there is a short and simple answer. To imagine a world without boundaries is a boundary, yet itself.
My name is Jalen Mutchison. I am from the Illinois district, and I am an upcoming freshman at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. And I'm just thankful to everyone who supported me this far, especially special thanks to the Optimist Club in Belleville. Thank you guys so much. Miss Pam Morrow, you've been the best. I'd like to thank my speech coaches. They're great. I wouldn't have even known about this if it weren't for them. I'd also love to thank, obviously, my friends and family who have been my main support through all of this, especially my mom and my dad. Love them so much. Thank you guys for all of that. And I'm just really glad for this opportunity to be able to share my voice, but to also experience other people sharing their voices. I don't know. There's just something about that that's so magical to me, about hearing people express something that they deeply care about in such a big platform. So I'm very grateful for this opportunity.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the 2020 World Oratorical Competition from Optimist International, coming from Illinois, Speaker B, Mr. Jalen Mutchison, who spoke on the topic, Can you imagine a world without boundaries? Congratulations, Speaker B, to be clear, Jalen Mutchison, who gave a magical presentation from Illinois. Congratulations on the 2020 winner of Optimist International World Oratorical Competition. Would you like to say a few words, Jalen?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. This is very unusual, but I do not have the right words to say. I'm just so excited. I'm just so grateful for everyone who has helped me get to this point. Like I said earlier, my friends, especially my best friend, my family, my mom, my dad, my grandma, everybody. My coaches, I'm just so thankful to them. This is not just a win for me. This is a win for them as well. But to me, this is also a win for people all over who love speaking, who their passion is to speak. Never give up on it. Keep speaking out your mind, because I promise you, someone will listen. I know there's a while back where I felt like no one would listen to what I said. I felt like I didn't have the words to prepare a speech. But I thank God, and I thank everyone who supported me to be able to craft such arguments and to be able to craft such speeches, to be able to eloquently put down what I want to say and what I'm thinking. So thank you guys so much. I thank you so much to the Optimist Club International. Thank you so much. I'm overjoyed. Thank you.
Thank you, Jalen. You want to share what your career goals are or university plans?
Yes, as I said before, I'm an upcoming freshman at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, and I plan to study in the fields of acting and communications.